If you've never been to Rome, you're going to have some travel hiccups. I know this because we just did Rome in 2 days and we still had a couple of hiccups, even after researching for months. Mrs. Tips for Cruisers and I are going to show you what we did in 1 day, how much we spent, and the things we learned. We started off with a hiccup right away because we took off a little bit late from JFK and landed at 8:30 a.m. at FCO instead of 7:30 a.m. But we were through customs by 9:15 a.m. and we were the very last row in the airplane as well.
The first time we actually got our passports checked was in Rome. We didn't have any other checkpoints to go through, which was very nice.
Yeah, I don't know how we could have actually boarded a plane, got all the way to Rome, and literally not showed our passport to anyone. I'm glad Mrs. Tips for Cruisers is responsible and remembered the passports, although I did make her show them to me.
Several times, but yes.
Once when you get through the airport, you're going to buy your train ticket or take the train into the city if you want to save some money. If you don't want to save some money, you could do an Uber or a taxi and pay close to 100 euros. But the train only costs 8 euros. One of the things you want to do right away is download the special app that I'm showing on the screen because I can't pronounce that.
But do it before. Don't do it while you're standing there waiting at the kiosk, because some friends of ours were doing that in the line and it just kind of held things up. Go ahead and download it ahead of time so that you're ready and prepared and your information is saved so that you don't have to worry with the kiosk. Because sometimes we've learned that they don't always work and you have to do it multiple times and it holds up the line, all the things. If you do it in the app, it's so much faster.
Yeah, so we met some airplane buddies. As you see here, Amelia and Hallie. They are learning how to do the kiosk right here, as you can see. Make sure you hit that acknowledge symbol in the bottom left. Same thing when you're doing it in the app.
Mm-hmm.
When you do it in the app, you only have to check in the app in order for it to work, and then you don't have to verify your ticket. If you have a ticket copy, you have to verify it. And you do that when you're right before you get on the train.
Yes, there's a second smaller kiosk that if you're not paying attention and you don't know about it, you're not going to see it. And if you don't, acknowledge it or verify it or whatever the word is, you do get charged a fine. And we actually saw this happen to someone later in the day, so they're serious about it. Make sure you know, be prepared.
There is excellent signage. However, we still took a small scenic route, which wasn't too bad. I'm going to blame it on our new travel buddies that we met on the plane. So it was only 8 euros for my wife and I to get there. Much, much cheaper. What was it, about a 30, 45 minute ride?
I thought it was less than that. It felt like maybe 30 minutes to me.
One little hiccup I had was I only bought one train ticket to begin with. I should have bought two, and I was doing mine in the app. I missed it. The girls made the same mistake too, our new travel buddies. They made the exact same mistake, but you can do too. I found it after the fact, but hey, it is what it is. And if you select the wrong time for your train, so for instance, we selected a 9:42 a.m. train. We should have been able to make it, but we took the scenic route a little bit. Your train ticket's still good for something like 4 hours afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
So we just caught the next train 15 minutes later, which got us to our Airbnb at 11:03 a.m. And we weren't able to really enjoy this whole process as much because we had a 12 p.m. Colosseum tour, which you need to be there at least 15 minutes prior to be able to pick up your tickets. And I will let the wife here talk about that part of it.
So here's where, we had to kind of drop our luggage really fast with our host at Airbnb, who was fantastic and was very understanding of our situation. We basically turned and burned and had to immediately get on the tram, not train. We're learning that the tram is basically a trolley. Over here it's a little different, but where our Airbnb was, it was really right down the street. And we just had to hop on for a couple more stops, and at the end of the line was the Colosseum. So one of the kind of hacks that we learned just through our research was for some of the key, most popular attractions, whatever you want to call it, historical sites, was doing the skip the line tour package. What we learned is booking through Viator and using the skip the line self-guided tour packaging. And you could do 1, 2, 3, or a whole bunch of stuff. There are different package types. The one that we picked was just the most popular 3, I'll call it, which was self-guided through the Colosseum, the Roman Forum, and Palatine Hill. So for 2 adults, it was $94.78 in US dollars. So what we learned is that we saw some people struggling. If you don't download the Viator app ahead of time so that you can get the QR entry code within the app, it makes it extremely difficult for the people organizing the tours, or I say tour, it's self-guided, to let you in and make sure that you're verified. It causes problems if you have the paper copy without the QR, and there were several people who did not really follow the directions on that. Go ahead and download the app, have it ready so that you can just have a seamless. They literally scanned ours, we walked right over and walked right in. It was so easy.
Yeah, the part that the other little hiccup is how many times do you think you got to get that ticket scanned in order to be able to get into the Colosseum?
Goodness, that was crazy.
You think that after 1, 2 scans you'd be good? No, it was like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So we put it back in the backpack, I don't know, a couple different times. We had to get it back out. So keep that handy for the first 5 minutes of walking into the Colosseum for sure.
Yes, that was definitely a little kind of annoying. So, especially if you aren't having pockets. I did not have pockets and it got on my nerves all day long. Make sure you have pockets. The other thing is, we went in May, so it wasn't sweltering hot, but it's definitely hot and you're definitely sweating. It's a lot of bodies. Make sure you have an empty water bottle of some kind, because there are these fountains all over the place that you can find with free water, just really good water actually, and a lot of times it is cold. There was only one we found that was warm, but it was in direct sunlight. So, I mean, I figure that's gonna happen.
But if you are going to buy the water, it's negotiable, okay? Everything is negotiable. I bought 3 water bottles for €5 after we left the Colosseum. I used the free water that I found inside the Colosseum. €5, it wasn't too bad. However, someone came up to try to buy some more bottles for €1 each that the person gave it to him earlier. I still didn't feel bad giving the guy €5 since he's out there working and he's working hard. Also, the bottles that we had, they had ice chunks in it, so they're good and cold, and I just poured them in my nice ice shaker that you see right here on the screen, and there's a referral link in below. But yeah, these are by far my favorite water bottles that my wife and I carry whenever we travel. How much time did we spend in the Colosseum, and where are the best places to take pictures?
So we actually spent about an hour in the Colosseum, which kind of surprised me that we spent that much time, but it is rather large. But what we kind of learned by accident, I guess, is that everyone tends to gravitate toward the exact same areas around the Colosseum. And it does get a little challenging to kind of get up to the railing and get that perfect picture. But as we were actually exiting, and I say exiting, it's not, oh, I'm just going to go down the staircase. It exits you kind of wrapping around the same pathway that you're walking. They just have it roped off so that when you're ready to leave, they kind of open the rope and you just keep walking. So you essentially get an unobstructed view along probably a third of the Colosseum at various levels, where you can get that shot without people around. And we learned that by accident, and we saw that happen in a few different areas. And if you continue to follow the exit signs, there are other like nooks and crannies off to the sides of the main pathway where there are great photo opportunities. One thing that I will prepare you for, it is extremely uneven. There are hills everywhere, there are valleys and cracks and rocks sticking up. We both continuously stubbed our toes.
I never fell.
Just slid on top of rocks because they're slick from people walking on them all the time. Just be careful. It is not the best environment for strollers and wheelchairs. They did have ramps and elevators, but it's not conducive.
All right, and after we went to the Colosseum, what did we do? And what was the best way to get there?
So after we left the Colosseum, because we had our 3 different stop ticket, we did the Palatine Hill and the Roman Forum, which was absolutely gorgeous. Obviously, the Colosseum is very iconic. It's the thing you think about when you think about Rome. But there was beautiful gardens and buildings and structures and statues and pillars all over Palatine Hill and the Roman Forum. Absolutely breathtaking. You could spend just hours and hours just walking around looking at things. You would probably never see it all. It's just so amazing. I'm not downplaying the Colosseum, but I felt like we had more of a awestruck from the other areas as well, just from the vastness of the structures and all of those things. From there, we continued to walk, just kind of followed the path to, I am going to say it wrong, go ahead and comment all your angry things, Palazzo Venezia, I don't know, is another beautiful structure. We did not spend a lot of time, I'm going to tell you that. We kind of just brushed by it, but it's a beautiful white building with beautiful statues. Different materials were used. There was a lot of construction going on around that particular building, so it was a little irritating. And there was some weird walkways. They had to make makeshift walkways for us, but it was still really pretty. And from there, because we were so close, we did make our way all the way to the Pantheon. But we literally stopped about 100 yards away just to take a break and get a snack.
Yeah, and a little snack. So this is probably approaching 3 p.m. now, because it's been about a little over 2.5 hours between the Colosseum and the other 2 stops there. We stopped for a snack about 100 yards away, and as you can see, and how close it is here, and we got a little bit of a pizza and a
panini and some really good gelato and a coffee. Very reasonable. Other things we've learned from different research and other travelers we've kind of listened to and things, if you're paying more than 4 to 5 euros for a piece of pizza or for like a quick lunch dish, you are overpaying. They're charging you a tourist tax or whatever you want to call it. If you go a block or 2 away from that tourist area into the neighborhoods, if you want to call it that, it is significantly cheaper. It's not overly crowded with people. You get better stuff. Too. It's just better. And we just had a lot of fun sitting and people watching and enjoying the environment, enjoying the street, enjoying just the hustle and bustle of the city. And then when we were done, we just walked down the street to the Pantheon.
But don't forget, if you eat inside, they charge you a different, higher price.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So that 4 euro pizza here that you see here is probably going to be close to double that if we chose to sit inside. So yeah, just take your coffee or cappuccino and your food to go to save a little bit more money.
And there's always places to sit. There was a whole wall, just a rock wall for you to sit on. It was actually quite comfortable. It was in the shade, nice wind blowing through the street. It was nice.
This was one of my most favorite parts of the day, quite honestly.
So for the Pantheon, we had done research ahead of time, and obviously, like we talked about, we used Viator for ticket booking, but they said because the Pantheon was so inexpensive and the lines moved actually quite quickly, it didn't make sense to do the skip the line tour for that particular place. So you simply walk up to a kiosk, which that was the longest line, and that's just people trying to figure out the kiosk, quite honestly.
Probably 15-20 minutes out of wait line.
Yeah, it's not bad. It still wasn't bad. It was 5 euros for the expensive ticket, and we also had a cheaper version for 2 to 3 euros. And we had no idea what the difference was, so we just paid the 5 euros without asking questions just to go in. So a total of 10 euros. Apple Pay, the Tap and Pay works great at all of the kiosks, like everywhere, even at restaurants, everywhere. Just have it set up on your Apple Pay. One thing we didn't realize is that it is considered a church. So you have to have your shoulders covered, ladies, and dress modestly. They do request that you speak softly and are respectful inside the building. And men, take your hats off. We forgot, and they were like, take your hat off, like right away. So they take it very seriously, rightfully so. It's a place of respect.
Yes, I learned that. And it looked like it was a special day. They were celebrating something. And we got to see the special person you see here. He had a special police escort, and he had security when he was walking down the street when we were enjoying our gelato. But yeah, don't know what it was. But it was a very nice, cool place. And you don't spend a whole lot of time in the Pantheon. You might spend, I don't know, we spent, I think, 20 minutes maybe.
Short. You see it, you take your pictures.
We might have spent more time at the little bag store that we saw walking back to our Airbnb. So Mrs. Tips for Cruisers, she's just leading me. I'm following her. But I see this little cute little bag store. And I'm like, hey, I want to go in here. And
we walked out with a nice purse. But anyway, we ended up making our way just through the little shops and through the little streets. I will suggest downloading some Google Maps ahead of time into your offline maps. It helped us a lot just to be able to take the neighborhood streets as opposed to always being on public transportation, because it's extremely walkable. Most things were 10 to 15 minute walks. I think the max was 20. It was not bad. And we found cute little places, lots of picturesque streets, architecture that we would not have seen at all had we stayed on just the normal path. So just putting in those walking directions was fantastic. But we made our way back to the Airbnb the old-fashioned way, on foot, down some neighborhood streets, stopped at a couple of places. And one thing that we obviously came back and relaxed for just a minute, took a shower, got off the day, and then we explored our neighborhood. And our neighborhood is actually really cool. There are restaurants absolutely everywhere. And we just kind of took some time going down and seeing locals, which I think is always a good sign. If you see the locals there, it's probably pretty good. And you can spot a local versus a tourist pretty easily. So make sure you do that. Make sure you just take the extra time to walk around and get involved in the city and not just do what's recommended.
And really, I mean, that's another tip is when you come here at least 2 days early if you're going to board a cruise ship, maybe 3. So we flew out on a Tuesday. So Tuesday's all a travel day. And then we landed Wednesday morning at 8:30 a.m. in the morning. So we have all day today, all day tomorrow, and then we get on Odyssey of the Seas on Friday for a 9-night cruise. But Airbnb is going to save you about 50%. So just kind of give you an idea, we got a 1-bedroom place, 1 bath, sleeps up to 4 with a pull-out sofa, and we got this for 300 euros total for 2 nights. The hotels are going for 200 to 400 euros per night, and you're not in a neighborhood like you are here. It's just absolutely beautiful. I feel like if and when we come back, we're just gonna have to stay in an Airbnb for maybe even longer than 2 nights, and or move around Italy a little bit more than just Rome for sure.
Yes, and we have seen probably no less than 20 people just with our comings and goings in one day stopping in our alleyway to take pictures, because it is absolutely gorgeous. As you can see in this picture, it looks fake. I mean, it just looks like you walked onto a movie set. I mean, it's very pretty.
So let us know in the comments below. Do you do Airbnb or a hotel if you're coming to Rome? If we had Instagram, we would be here. But we don't.
We hope this helped you save some money and to be prepared for your next Rome trip.
This is Brian and Mrs. Tips for Cruisers. Please like, subscribe, and share this if you found this helpful in any way. Thank you very much, and we'll see you over in this video real soon.